You've reached the Shar Hotline, your pep talk turned podcast. It's your direct line to unshakable confidence, unapologetic self-love, and the permission slip you didn't know you needed to show up as your true self. This is your safe space for a whole lot of heart, honesty, humor, and healing. I'm your host, Shar, a self-love and confidence coach, your compassionately candid hype woman, and a woman of color on a mission to help you ditch the BS, cultural conditioning, your own self-doubt, or what society or your family says you should be. Together, we'll figure out what it means to embrace your true self, get out of your own way, set boundaries, and live a fulfilling life on your terms. Whether you're a recovering perfectionist, overcoming people-pleasing, here for the listeners' questions, or getting some actual tools, join me to feel seen, heard, and empowered. Tune on in and learn to love yourself first, always.
Hello, welcome Danielle. Thank you for being on the Shar Hotline.
Excited, Shar. This
Thank
is
you.
such a fun podcast. I love the Shar Hotline. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me. And I want to introduce Danielle, and then I'm going to let Danielle introduce herself a little bit so that I don't do her injustice. Danielle is the CEO of Worthy of Dignity, and I have the pleasure of meeting you, I guess, probably like half a year ago, possibly.
Yeah.
And what you talk about in your mission, your work, really speaks to me because it's about how to bridge that gap between personal transformation and organizational change. And you're on a mission to help women reclaim and own their worth and their dignity and how they show up in their lives, but also not most importantly, but also in your focuses in the professional space.
Yeah.
And so please tell everybody, the listeners, a little bit about yourself and why you do what you do and who you are.
Yeah. Thank you, Shar. I'm, again, really excited to be here. You are absolutely right. Like, my mission is to really close the gap between who we feel like we have to be in the workplace and who we are inherently in our bodies and in our souls. So Worthy of Dignity is my business, and it really came about because I struggled with this myself. I was a single mom and felt like I really needed to hustle and be one way at work to achieve success, to excel, to level up in my career. And then I would come home and I got to be what I thought was my real self with my kids, with my friends, and with my family. And what I found was that toggle and the tension that existed between those two versions of myself left me burnt out, left me exhausted. The challenges that I faced in needing to be performative and needing to produce and needing to put on and be something that I wasn't in the workplace really left me, again, exhausted and feeling burnt out, and like I wasn't being who I was, but I was being some version of myself that I was expected to be by the people who were making the decisions about my livelihood, my ability to feed my children and provide for us rather. And so, when I kind of crashed and hit this wall, I got a chance to reinvent myself and choose and create and build the life that I wanted to. And what I wanted was for us to not have to choose, for us to be able to live the life that we wanted to, based on who we are, not who society says that we have to be, especially as women, not who we are told that we need to be in order to get a promotion, in order to hold a title in an office, but who we are inherently created to be. And I've been doing that, and that's been amazing. And I've created a company where I get to show other women how to do that and get to work with organizations to show them how to raise and build a leadership culture in their companies and in their organizations where people get to merge these seemingly two versions of themselves and create a healthy work culture. So it's been so rewarding and so fascinating, and my life is just so much better for it.
Amazing. Well, thank you for the work you do, coming from a corporate background and then transitioning into a working mom. Yeah, that's real. Mom or not, it's a struggle, right? How to show up as our whole selves, but still be professional, still produce, and finding that balance that a lot of us work that juggle and that toggling between those two, or multiple identities.
Yes.
Thank you. And so today we want to talk about the Superwoman cape and the Superwoman. I actually was researching this and it was like Superwoman syndrome, which I like knew it intuitively, but I'd never really like read about it or researched about it. And it was an idea that you came up with when we chatted back and forth about what we could talk about, because there's so many things we could talk about and touch on, of course, together in the overlap of our work. But tell me a bit more about the Superwoman syndrome, the Superwoman cape, that really is top of your mind right now to talk about. And let's dig deeper into it.
Yeah. I think for me in my coaching practice, what I see and hear a lot of is women feeling like and being exhausted from the idea that they have to be everything to everybody. And not only do they have to be it, they have to excel at it, right? So we have to be top of our profession. We have to be the amazing moms or wives who excel at everything. Dinner on the table at 6:30. Our kids are A students in school and achieving well and getting into Ivy League colleges. Or the friend who shows up with the right gift, perfectly wrapped. You know what I mean? At every event and occasion that our friends need us to be at. Or the perfect pet mom. You know what I mean? Like all of these things that we feel like we have to do that either we have put on ourselves or others have placed on us in terms of expectations, and they're leaving us exhausted. Like it really is this kind of cape, so to speak, like Superwoman that we've put on ourselves of expectation that we wear. And then we get amongst our friends and we have this kind of game that we play of like, who's the busiest, who's the most exhausted, who's trying to keep up with all the things in our lives the most. And it becomes this almost like badge of honor to be the most exhausted, the busiest, you know what I mean? The one trying the very hardest. And I just find us wearing ourselves out as women, trying to keep up with it all. And then we are the ones that actually suffer from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are the ones that suffer. Our health suffers. We don't live as long. We're not happy. We're not fulfilled in our lives. We're not living in our purpose. We're not living in our passions. And we're doing for everybody else but ourselves because we are living for everyone else. We're living into everyone else's expectation of ourselves because we're trying to maintain a standard that we will never meet. We're trying to live into expectations that we will never be able to, because we're trying to be this Superwoman that doesn't exist. And so I see this all the time. I have to fight it myself. I see it with some of my friends. I see, again, myself battling it as well. And so when we talk about the work that we do and where our work overlaps, I thought, gosh, why don't we talk about this pervasive issue that exists among women, no matter what you do. You don't have to be a wife or a mom for this to be a thing, right? You
No,
just
not
have
at
to
all.
be a woman living in this society where we are expected to be all things to all people and expected to do them with excellence and excel at them.
So two things kind of come to mind when you were explaining that. Was one, I guess I know I had like one of the imposter syndrome. I think there's like the different types or archetypes. One was like the superhero or superhuman one. So I think that's kind of like what's coming up to mind. But where do you see the overlap or intersection of the Superwoman syndrome, Superwoman cape mentality with people pleasing and perfectionism? And
Yeah.
yeah, and then the second question is, where do you think your Superwoman mentality came from, and how has it impacted you?
Yeah, those are really great questions. I think it overlaps into the people pleasing because we are not taking care of ourselves. A lot of these things that we do are to please others, right? To make ourselves look good for others, to live into expectations of others, or even of a broader societal expectation, right? And so that's where this people pleasing comes into play, because we will do this to our detriment, right? We find ourselves participating in events and activities and doing and going when we're tired, we're exhausted, we've got competing activities going on, and we find ourselves just pulling it together, you know what I mean? Because, so and so expects us to be there, or, we want to save face, or, we said no the last time. Those are all byproducts of people pleasing, when we ignore our own needs and our own feelings to please others. That is the definition of people pleasing. And I see that a lot, in some of my clients, but I also see myself having to fight against that urge as well. To not just do something because someone else expects me to do it or because it will make someone else happy, but to really check my motives. Like, I've, gone and done a lot this week. Why am I also, knowing that I'm tired, knowing that I could use a break, choosing to go some more, right? What is the motivation behind continuing to push myself when I know I could use a break, right? And checking my own motivations. And so I think when you ask that question, what are those things? I mean, I fall into them just like everybody else does, right? I think what I've done and I've had to do over the years is really recognize, where my tendency to burn myself out is, where those areas in my life lie, and what's behind them, what's the root, right? And then set up practices of accountability, with friends, with family members that can help me ask those tough questions of myself. Hey, what's going on here? Why are you continually pushing yourself? When was the last time you took a day off? Where's your next vacation? When is your next day off of work? Or how about instead of doing that, we go for a walk together? Like, those are the kind of things, practices rather, that I've had to put in place to help hold myself accountable to the promises and commitments that I've made to take care of myself, to ensure that I don't burn myself out again, that I am taking good care of myself. And I think those are the things that we as women have to continually do, to check ourselves, to ask ourselves the tough questions. Like, what is the motive behind this? You know what I mean? Who am I intending to please? Who do I want to see, or who do I want to see me in this situation? Why am I going, right? Is this for me, or is this for someone else? Like, we have to ask ourselves the hard questions, and we have to be willing to sit with the answer and be honest about it, and also uncover what's behind it. And I think some of us are so busy going that we're not willing to sit with those questions or those answers that emerge out of those questions.
Yeah, we don't even pause and take a beat to even listen to ourselves and to do that. I have a few tools that come to mind of when I try to listen to myself, when I'm pushing myself too far, or for lack of better words. What are some tools that come up for you before I kind of jump in what like my go-to, which I feel like a broken record because I feel like I've said it like a million times on my podcast and on Reels. But yeah, what are, your top 3 kind of tools for you to hold yourself accountable, to know to take that breath and take that pause and reassess and evaluate?
Yeah. So, being a recovering people pleaser, I start with no.
Yeah.
I start with
Okay.
no instead of starting with yes. So I start with no and really try to, so whenever I get invited to something, I usually, like I said, I start with no and try to figure out why I should go. Like, what would be the good reason to go? Because my tendency would normally be to just say yes to everything, right? So starting with no helps me really understand the reasons why I should go, the motives behind going to an event, to an occasion. And so that really helps me to get clear on my motivations and my intentions behind going, and my time availability, right? The other thing I do is I have blackout days. In my calendar that I do every month. So Saturday nights are typically no-goes. I have date night with my husband every Saturday, and people who know us know that. And so if you get me out on a Saturday night, it is, boy, you are,
You're special.
I mean, you are really special. Saturday nights are blackout nights. And then during the week, it's usually pretty hard because those are nights that we are dedicated to our kids. And so again, we just have, I start with those things. And so then it becomes really intentional, you know what I mean? Because then, your time is limited. Once you got all your blackout nights in there, you start with no, then you really have to be choosy about where you spend your time because you recognize that your time is limited, right? And so then it's like, well, where do I want to spend my time? Because I've only got so much of it. And so then it's like, ooh, I want to go to brunch with my girlfriends. I want to do that, right? So you get to this place of being excited about going instead of it feeling like something that you're obligated to do or you have to do. And that makes it, I don't know. I feel good about moving from that place, a place of excitement, a place of joy, a place of feeling like this is something I want to do rather than this is something I have to do. So those are a
Yeah.
couple of the tools that I use to really help me stay mindful of how I'm moving throughout my day and my week, and using my time wisely to fill me up rather than to deplete me.
I like that. I start with no. I like that. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head where you said should. Why do I feel like I should? And that's a big one for me. My tool is whenever I say should,
Yeah.
often it's an external factor that's influencing that decision. And so instead of saying, oh, I should go to that thing, it's like, I want to go. Done.
Right.
You don't even need to think about it. And
Yeah.
that's my big one. It's like when you say should to yourself, whether internally or externally, it's like, oh, I should go to that dinner. Oh, I should go to that event. It's, but why? And then the why for me is asking it several times. I think I've read different frameworks and different structures where you like ask 7 times, ask 9 times, like ask as many times as you need. Similar to like the same sentiment, right? For you, it's getting down to that motivation,
Yeah.
that incentive, and that motive of who's it for? Is it self-serving or is it for someone else? Which sometimes it's okay too. Maybe it's like, I don't know,
Yeah.
something for your partner or something for a kid or something or someone you do really care about that you want to show up for them, and that's okay too.
That
But
is.
honoring yourself in that. And
Yeah.
those are key tools. And so yeah, very similar, like just like different, but very similar. Yeah, that's so true,
Yeah.
right? It's getting to know ourselves. And you know what I found though, a lot of people don't know what that looks or feels like to
That's
honor
right.
themselves, which we'll get into because I
Yeah.
have another question about that. But where did you realize this Superwoman? And it's so interesting how it all kind of interlinks with people pleasing and
Yeah.
perfectionism and boundaries, right? Learning to set boundaries for
Yeah.
yourself and the those around you. Where did you kind of realize that you took on that Superwoman cape, and
Yeah.
how has it impacted you before you got to these tools? Like we're gonna
Sure.
reel it back, right? Before you
Yeah.
got to these tools to realize how to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say this. And I think for me, it was during a season of life where I was a single parent and I was just doing everything I needed to do to survive, to put food on the table for my children. I had come out of a previous marriage and I had to really rebuild my life. And so I think when you come out of situations like that and you're rebuilding your life, the circumstances aren't always ideal. You know what I mean? And so I had to get really scrappy and creative. And that season was about hustling and it was about doing what needed to be done. And I did it. And I think that just kept going, you know what I mean? And I just kept moving in that season because I didn't have I didn't have other tools. I didn't have other tools that said, okay, you don't have to continue to live this way. Your circumstances and situation has changed and it's evolved, and you can take a breath and take a breather. I think there was a scarcity mindset there that kept playing in my mind that, you have to keep going because you never know what's going to happen again. You know what I mean? And so you can't stop. You can't stop. You can't slow down. You have to keep going because you are all these kids have to depend on and rely on. And so I think there was this just mentality that I had that was like, you just got to keep going. And I did. And I think looking back in the healing journey, I had to recognize that that was the part of me that was doing everything she needed to do to survive. And I'm not
That's
mad at
exactly it.
her.
You're in
I
survival
don't
mode.
blame her. Right. She got us through, right? That version of Danielle got us through, and I needed her in that season, right? I needed every part of her, and I'm grateful for her. And I think as I've evolved, I can honestly look back at her, and I've done this work where I've said, Danielle, thank you. We needed you. You helped us through a really tough season in our lives, and we don't need those skills in this season of our life. In this season of our life, things are different. We have different tools, and we can navigate life differently. And so that's what we've done. And I've been grateful for that. But I think a lot of that is where that came from. Yeah.
How beautiful to connect with your past self, and without the shame, without the shame and judgment, and with gratitude, right? I thank you for sharing that. So yeah, what I'm hearing is, you got into survival mode, and then you kind of got stuck on that, like in that phase, right? And it's hard to let go of. Could you? And I'm curious. I think what I was understanding was like, so what I'm hearing is like you realized you had the Superwoman cape when you were in that survival mode, when you hit a wall with having to rebuild yourself. Were there aspects previous to hitting that wall that, like, for me, what comes up is like my childhood.
Yes.
Being a woman of color, being Chinese, Canadian, my parents are immigrants from Hong Kong. Like, they never said it, but that's culturally ingrained in me. And so how does that kind of, if you could look back and articulate kind of where that comes from and how we can be mindful of it now for like ourselves as our, present selves, and for our future selves, but also for those listening who may not be aware of that yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I had an amazing childhood. My parents are wonderful parents. And I don't even know that they knew, you know what I mean? I don't even think our parents knew, but I do feel like being the oldest child, oldest daughter even came with some of that. You got to be an example, you know what I mean? You got to set the example for your siblings, make us proud, kind of mentality that implied that there was a level of expectation that I was expected to be at and to live into, not just for me, but for my family, and I gladly fell into that. You know what I mean? I wanted to make my family proud. I wanted to achieve and accomplish things. And I understood by how the people around me lived and worked and achieved that the way to achieve that was to put your head down and work hard. And as a Black woman, I also understood that in order to achieve success, you had to work 10 times harder than your white woman counterpart, right? Or your white male counterpart, or whatever that looked like. And so, yes, I think this also comes from a society that tells us that as women, that in order for us to achieve that, we have to work harder than our male counterparts to not just succeed, but to be seen in order to succeed, right? Because we're not even often seen in the workplace as being eligible for success unless we're working harder than sometimes our male counterparts. And so I think there was a lot of that came from that as well, especially in the industry that I was in at the time, which was faith and religion. There were not women pastors. There were not women in ministry who were able to speak from the pulpit in the ways that I was and was aspiring to. And so there was a belief that in order to be able to be in the positions that I wanted to be in, I had to work harder, right? And so that Superwoman cape, yes, it was there for me. It absolutely was, not just as a woman, but as a Black woman as well. And so, yeah, I assumed the role, that I had seen other women do. And that's what's modeled. That was what was modeled for us in my generation, and as a young woman, starting out her career. It absolutely was.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, it's not even like outwardly told to you, or
Right.
it's just we see that's how it's modeled, and we take it and program it within ourselves, and it's ingrained in us. And
Yeah.
and I guess my parents and like previous generations didn't know how to articulate that. They didn't have the vocabulary, or or they were too busy hustling and surviving, and so they didn't have time to pause. And so it is a privilege and a blessing that we can pause now and reflect on that and have the tools, like you said, and resources to talk about it. And it's still we still have such a long way, I feel like, to make that change. What does it?
Shar, I just want to go back to this. I also think that was their motto for success as well, right? And so they didn't necessarily know that it was harmful. They had seen
not at
success
all.
from it as well, right? And so their intentions in sharing that with us and in showing and in telling us were good, because they were like, this is how we've all achieved and become successful. And this is what I've seen. And this is what I know. And this is now what I know to teach you to do as well. Right. And so what I will say is, the women that imparted that knowledge to me had the best intentions, right? Because they didn't know anything different. They had seen a structure that told them that these were the steps. It's almost like a math formula. If you do X and Y, you'll get Z, right? What we're doing now in recognizing the impact of the Superwoman syndrome is we're recognizing that it's not X plus Y plus Z. It's X plus Y equals burnout, equals exhaustion, equals harm, right? And we're outwardly talking about it so we can change the formula for women coming behind us, for our daughters, right? To be able to say, actually, it's not X plus Y. It's rest and self-care and working at a reasonable pace that actually not just gets you a successful career, but gets you a fulfilled life. And that's what I'm most proud of. I'm most proud that we are not just replicating a formula that we know doesn't work, that we know is harmful, but we're saying our mothers, our role models who had the best intentions, right? Did what they knew, did what they could, and we know differently. We know differently. And so
Absolutely
instead
agree.
of continuing to say, the thing that we know isn't working, that we know is harming us as a collective, let's liberate the women behind us and share with them the new learnings, the new pathways, so that we can not only help them find success in their careers, but more importantly, help them live liberated lives, help them live fulfilled lives. And I think that's the thing that is going to, that's the thing that's going to make me proud at the end of my life as a mother and as a woman who did this work.
Yeah, redefining success. And absolutely. No judgment or hard feelings or negative feelings or shame with how our previous generations, because I think, and hopefully this is going to be the case, every generation we do the best with what we know, with how we can with what we know.
Yeah.
And, I don't think my parents' intention was ever like, we don't care about your happiness, just hustle. It was, we didn't know that we can care about our happiness. That's a luxury. We're just trying to survive and do well as, immigrants, as people of color or whatever, right? It's to raise our kids with the knowledge we have and just let them have better lives than we did, sort of thing, right? And now we know, and we have those tools where, okay, success also equals fulfillment and joy and rest and peace and honoring our values. Like, I don't know about your parents, like my parents wouldn't know to say that, like, honor yourself, honor your values. Who's Shar? Like, they didn't know. They're like, okay, there's 3 girls. We're just gonna keep raising all 3 of you, like, figure it out, right? And so really learning to honor ourselves. I wanted to ask you, in identifying where you hit that wall and had to rebuild your life and you were in survival mode and then now making that transformation, this question was asked of me before, and I loved it, was, what does it look and feel like? The past version, either already in burnout mode or about to hit burnout mode, what does that look like? Like tangible examples of what did that look and feel like to now having done the healing, and of course we are continually healing. What is that after that transformation on the other side of it? Yeah. Being able to recognize before you even hit a wall again now, what does that look and feel like for you?
Yeah. I think Danielle before was anxious and on edge, just worried a lot. There was a lot of decision paralysis, you know what I mean? And her
Mm-hmm.
ability, like, she knew what she needed to do, but questioned it a lot because she was so tired and couldn't think and couldn't focus. I had this thing where I kept calling it, I can't even think of the full term of it right now, but it was like where I needed more and more information before I could make a decision. I need more information. I need more
Mm-hmm.
information. And so I would seek out all these sources of information before I could feel confident enough to make a decision. And so there was just this almost this insecurity in my abilities beforehand because I was so exhausted. And what I know now is the exhaustion prevented me from like deciphering information accurately to be able to articulate a decision. Danielle today is creative, is clear minded, is sure of herself, is well rested, is confident, is well spoken, is excited, has created a life for herself that she has defined, right? That she has curated and is unapologetic about.
Mm-hmm.
And Danielle before was on a track that had been defined for her because she was chasing someone else's dream for herself because it wasn't aligned with her goals. Now, I'm aligned with my goals. I'm aligned with my purpose and my passion, and I'm unapologetic about what that looks like and protecting it. And there's so much peace in that. There's so much peace in that. Yeah.
Peace. I can sense the energy shift in you explaining previous Danielle to
Yeah.
now Danielle, and even in the your voice, your
Yeah.
tone, and your pace. I can sense it and feel it.
Hmm.
And it makes me smile when you talk about
Yeah.
current Danielle. And I just want that for everybody. You know, and what comes to mind is that lightness, literal feeling of lightness in your heart and your soul and just your body. It's just that lightness and that peace and content, just truly content. Even when,
Yes.
things happen and
I was going to say things aren't perfect by any means, but you're
no,
right. There is a contentment now that was not present then. You know what I mean? And I
a
am
sense of
so,
calm. It's like, okay, hit me with it. We got
I mean,
this. We
no,
got
don't do all
this.
that. Don't hit me with the stuff. But I'm definitely calm and content with
Yeah,
my
right.
life today than I was then. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I
How
think
about
that's what it
you?
is.
I
Mm.
think, we've had these conversations a number of times, and I'd love to hear from you too, Shar. Like, what have you done or what are you doing to like push back against this superwoman syndrome to create or cultivate the life of your choosing?
Yeah, I talk a lot. I'm very vocal about it, and anybody who knows me well, like I've always been very opinionated and vocal. And shocker, but I wasn't always confident because I felt like, yeah, I did get judged for it. I was, looked over for promotions and advancements. But now just, you know, being more self-aware and through my healing is also now integrating compassion when I'm being vocal about it and being more curious and then compassionately delivering my message and confident enough knowing that I'm not for everyone.
Hmm.
Confident knowing that people may not agree, but I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying it and telling people because hopefully it'll help people, even if they agree or not. It's just to come at it from a place where I'm confident and compassionate about it, that they can at least hear me and receive my message and respect it. And then again, if they choose to agree or disagree with it, that's okay. But then maybe it just plants that seed
Yeah.
to then help others and maybe to look into themselves too. And yeah, I think old me was definitely, I didn't know that I was anxious, but the self-doubt. I think always second guessing myself, and that despite outwardly seeming very confident, inside was, yeah, very not confident in myself and worried about what people thought still.
Yeah.
But now having go through this lightness that I don't care what people think, right? We do to some extent still sometimes, but being able to sit with that discomfort
Sure.
and then be aware of it and then tackle it a bit and like dig deeper and work through it instead of making decisions that weren't aligned. And so definitely feeling this lightness is a big piece of who I am now, having done that work and being able to confidently articulate that more for other people to see and hear. And vulnerability, I think before I was hiding a lot too. Yes, like very similar to the Superwoman syndrome persona is also like, look like you have it, look like you have it all, and you're super happy and everything's great. And now is vulnerability is also a superpower for me, and connecting with people and calling in people and being able to be very aware of what is aligned and what is not aligned with my values. And that's what it looks like. It feels even more confident because now I know my core values and I know what to do to align with them. Instead of like, is this aligned? Is this not? Do I want to do this? Do I not? Is it for me? I know it's for me. Done. Instead of that wishy-washy pull. It's a very like, yeah, that's what it is. Like this push and pull energy before. Now it's like, calm, I got this. And trusting myself, which is still a work in progress. Don't get me wrong.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love that you mentioned vulnerability because I think that's something I think women, many of us, I won't speak for all of us, but many of us are inherently nurturers, right? And I think sometimes we forget that we need that too, right? And so when you mentioned vulnerability, it just reminded me that we need the love and care that we give to everybody else. And being vulnerable and intimate with the people around us to ask for what we need, to share intimately and vulnerably our feelings and our thoughts and where we need help and where we need support and ask for that accountability. That's part of taking that cape off, right? And not picking it back up. To be able to say, I'm feeling overwhelmed in this moment with everybody asking and pulling me in different directions. I need your help in prioritizing what we've got going on so that I can take care of myself too. Like we can do that, right? Because taking care of ourselves, we are worthy of that. We're worthy of the care that we give to everybody else. And so I really love that you mentioned that vulnerability. And I wanted to pull that out because being vulnerable is not a sign of weakness at all. It's really a sign of strength. It's really a testament to our ability to care for ourselves and ultimately our ability to care for the people around us when we can say, I need help. I can't do all of this. I need somebody to step in and help me and do this or do that or support me here or pick this up so that we can move this thing together.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. Back at you is that, that asking for help. That's a big one too. I think I literally Googled like a few years ago, how to ask for help.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because I think that's a big part of the Superwoman cape, right?
And don't ask for help.
Don't ask for help. Do it all yourself and do it with a smile on your face.
Yeah. Or what about the one, if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself, right? Or if
I
you want
mean,
it
I
done
still
right,
struggle
ask
with
a
that
woman.
one.
Right. Yes.
The control freak in me is still struggling with that one.
Yes.
Yes. That's true. And and I've often told people, like, I Googled it. I asked like, how to ask for help. And my partner laughed at me. I was like, are you serious right now? I was like, I just can't because it's a sign of weakness. It means I no longer am a superhuman, a superwoman because I can't do it all.
Yeah.
And my partner, and it's so interesting to have these conversations and fun because it's kind of sad, but also fun because it's like he's a white cis male and doesn't think of that. I asked him about perfectionism. He's like, no, we're not perfect. I was like, I mean, I intellectually know that,
Yeah.
but I still struggle with it.
Yeah.
And so it's so fascinating that he doesn't think of that. He's like, just ask for help if you need help. I was like, but it's not as easy as just blurting out words. It's like the whole internal battle. And what stood out to me when I Googled it was understand that we reciprocate. And this is before ChatGPT, I'm pretty sure, or I was not aware of it. I'm a tech grandma, but it was understand that you reciprocate that. It's not tit for tat per se, but
Sure.
knowing that the people you're leaning on for help, your village and your support network, is that when they ask for help, you show up. And I was like, oh yeah, I
That's right.
show up for my people.
That's right.
And so it's not a weakness. It's help me now. It's my turn to kind of ask for help and, being confident in knowing that I am a good friend. I am a good sister. Like I show up for my people. So now it's my turn to ask for help when I need it. And that helped me. But yeah, I want to pull that one out from what you said, because that's so true. That's what it looks like. Before, old me couldn't ask for help. And then I would just cry myself in a locked room and like, okay, I'm going to just figure it out. And then you get burnt out.
Yes. Yes. And we live in a society that kind of tells us that we should know how to do it ourselves, right? We should not need to rely on other people. Our society is very individualistic in that way, right? Whereas we are inherently designed to be communal, to rely on each other, right? To need the support of one another, to work together for the greater good. But somehow that's been conditioned and worked out of us. And we become this very pull yourself up by your bootstrap community instead of a rising tide lifts all boats community. It takes a village community, right? And so when I just wanted you to know that feeling that you feel when you think about asking for help, you've been conditioned to believe that because we get so many messages from society, from our news media, from images in magazines and TV shows that tell us individual success is the way to go. But that's not true. That's not true at all. That's not how our ancestors, live their lives either, right? We are communal people. And so it's right that you feel this little tension in you when you feel something, when you think about asking for help, because you should be very comfortable asking for help. We all should feel comfortable asking for help because that's how we were designed.
That really resonates with me because I've been really reflecting and thinking about, and also doing like channel research on, ancestral and tribal villages and collectivist cultures and communities versus individualistic, and that push and pull.
Yes.
And it's so fascinating because especially now as a mom, I have two littles, and you have four, right?
I have four. They're not little. I have four bigs.
Yeah. But still, right? Like as a parent, right? It's with your parent, it's just that we should all be in community.
Yeah.
And a big one also for me is also healing as a collective, healing in community and not on your own. Can expedite your healing, and at the end, you need community still. Even if you do a lot of healing individually, at some point you need your village and the community and a network and support to help you. And that really resonates with me, that collectivist mentality.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, was how do you kind of see it moving forward for you now? The Superwoman cape, like it'll still come up.
Sure.
Moving forward, how would you want to communicate that more to your clients, to your kids, to your network? How do you talk about it? How to move forward as you have navigated that, and then how to move forward with it? That was the last big one that came to me was like, how do we get back to ourselves?
Yeah.
Right, moving forward, how do we get back to ourselves and hold on to that still? And we can evolve and change our mind, of course. I think, that was my big one that I want to kind of close off with was, okay, if we acknowledge and are aware of, the past selves and our current versions, and realizing when we hit that burnout, and realizing we have that superwoman syndrome,
Mhm.
how do we come back to find ourselves, our true Danielle and Shar, and not the superwoman?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the recognition that we are human beings and not human doings. And I think for me, when I took a step back and recognized that for myself, I asked myself at the end of my life, when I'm surrounded by my family and the people that love me, in the last moments of my life, and I'm reflecting on my life, what do I want to be most proud of? And I want to be most proud of being present for all of my life. Not the things I've done, but the way I was present, the way I built relationships, the way I impacted the people that I was around. I want my family and friends to know and remember that I was in relationship with them and present. Not that I just sent a gift card, you know what I mean, but that I made the cake. I showed up. I put my phone down and looked them in the eye when we were talking, right? That I lived my life. I experienced it to the fullest. I did the thing that I was scared of, that I failed, but I got back up, that I took full advantage of this life and lived in my purpose and in my passion, that I wrote the book, that I did the things that I wanted to be or to do, and I was present, fully present and engaged and lived fully my entire life, and that I wasn't focused on the doing of it, but the actual being, the experience of living this one life that we get. And so I think that's what I would say. How are you being? No matter what you do, no matter what industry you're in, you don't have to be a coach, you don't have to be a mom, you don't have to be a wife. Whatever you are doing, how are you showing up to be a human in the one life that you are given? We only get one. We don't get any do-overs. We don't get to go back and redo anything. So how will you show up to fully live and experience and enjoy this one amazing life that you get?
Yeah.
I don't want to spend it navigating everybody else's to-do list.
Living for someone else that's not even
I don't.
paying attention to you.
Nope.
No
I
one's
don't.
really watching us that closely. I
Nope.
don't think my partner notices half the things I say or do. Like,
Nope.
it's
I want to
your
know
life.
that
It's
I lived
your
it
life.
doing things I loved on my terms, aligned with the purpose and plan that God has for my life here, and that the people around me felt loved and seen by me. And I felt
And
that from them.
yeah, and I'm not going to do justice to this quote, but it's like how you made people feel. Not what you
Yes.
said, what you did, or what you've accomplished. It's
Yep.
how you made people feel,
That's right.
and that stands out to me. This
Agreed.
is like divine timing,
Yeah.
because this being versus doing.
That's it.
I literally have been doing a lot of energy work and work with my life coach and everything. It's like, and I wrote down, I was like, just be, have fun, be playful, let loose. I'm always trying to control everything and plan everything. I'm a planner. And
Yeah.
I think for me, it's, yeah, what do you really care about? When you let go of the worries, the shame, the judgment, what people expect, or what you think people think of you and are expecting from you, whether that's like personal people or society or culture
Yeah.
or media. It's what do you care about? And one of my other podcast guests, Vicky, she was saying, what do you do in secrecy? I don't know if secret's the best. If we teach our 5-year-old no secrets, only happy surprises to keep her safe. But like, what do you do in hiding? What do you do when you're by yourself, when no one else is around? And she said she would watch videos of dancing. And so then she started taking adult dance lessons. Like little things like that. Like it's not little, but like like things like that. What brings you joy? As Marie Kondo, what lights you up, right? But
Right.
what brings you joy, and and stick with that, you know. For me, it is helping people. It's talking to people and having none of that small talk anymore. It's like the conscious connections, meaningful conversations. And, you know, and that's what for me is, you know, what do I really care about? Who is Shar? When someone, you know, who I've made feel a certain way, how would they describe me? How would I want people to describe me? And I really like that idea of, you know, on your, you know, your last day on earth surrounded by your loved ones, what would you, and you know, I think people often say like your eulogy, what would people say?
Yeah.
And I love this idea. I haven't incorporated it yet, but it was actually like for your birthday every year, you have your friends go around and say something that they love about you or what they're most proud of you, you know, something like that, like in a nice, happy,
Yeah.
light way, not like a morbid way, but
Yeah, I was gonna say that feels a little heavy, but you turned it around. I like it.
yeah, a happy way of just like, what, how have I made you feel, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I love that because why? Why should we wait till we're gone? Right? We should do it now. I think that's for me is, you know, what do you care about? How do you want to make people feel? And align your decisions and your choices to that
Yeah. That's
and
really
letting
beautiful.
go of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think for me, a big one, like tangibly, it's I don't cook fancy. I barely cook actually, to be honest. So I don't cook fancy meals. And then but that's what people say, you know, like, oh, you should cook fancy meals. I don't even pack the snacks. We have littles, like, you know. And so my partner, I've delegated,
Hmm.
right? And I don't do all the pickups and drop-offs. I do ask my mom for help. My mom lives with us. And so at one point I was trying to do all the pickups and drop-offs and work and all the calls in between. And my partner just strolls on out, not maliciously. He's
Sure.
like, I got to get
Sure.
to work.
Hmm.
And then finally he's like, why do you try to like rush back for your call and rush to there? He's like, we have help that lives here. Just ask your mom to help.
Yeah.
I was like, you're right. Because like, oh no, the moms at the other parents at drop off and pick up are like, oh, we never see that mom anymore.
Yes.
And it's just letting go of those things
Yeah.
and learning to let go.
Yeah, and it's not in a bad way, right? Because I think sometimes when people hear that, they think, it's this bad thing, but it's so that you can do the things that light you up, right? It's so you can do the things that light you up. So, for example,
Yes.
cooking lights me up, right? I love to cook 5 days a week. Cleaning the bathroom does not. You know what I mean? And so I do get help for that so that I can do the thing that I absolutely love to do. And I think as women, we don't consider our life in that way oftentimes. We really do feel like we have to do it all or it defines who we are. And so I love that you had a partner in your life that helped you to see that as an actual option for yourself and you embraced that and took them up on that so that you could do the thing that lit you up and be present for your children in ways that you enjoy and you have the energy to do it later on in the day. And that's one of the things that I just would love to encourage, all women to do. What are the things in your life that light you up and how can you create more time and space in your day to do those things? And in the places that don't light you up, where can you invite some help? Where can you let it go? Where can you take it off your plate? If it's not a priority for you, if it's not something that, you're mandated to do in your life, how can you let that go so that you can do the things that you really enjoy?
Yeah. And not just time, but energy. Yeah.
Energy, yeah.
Yeah. We have a cleaner that comes and
Same.
my partner was hanging on to like the outside of the house, like lawn mowing and all that things for a while. And I was like, we have a friend that owns their own company. Let's support them.
Yeah.
I was like, do you care to mow the lawn? And he's like, no. I was like, then don't. That's like 3-4 hours that you're going to save where you can just be with us, be with the kids, or even if it's just sleeping in a little longer then you have more energy to be present with the family or with yourself and, outsource, it's find your who's to help support that. I read who, not how, so that's really top of mind.
We're talking about because I read it too.
um, well, to close off, I like to ask my guests. I like to name all of my episodes after like a 90s, 2000s millennial song. If you had to choose a song, it doesn't have to be a certain era, but a song as your anthem right now, what would it be and why?
So I love everything 90s. Like that is
Me
my
too.
era. Ugh. It's
That's
my
all I
era.
listen to.
90s R&B, like that is it. It's so
Yes.
funny because my kids get in the car and they immediately try to change the radio station, and I'm like, you would draw back a nub changing my radio station, um, because I
Love
love it
I
too much.
and like belting it out in the car. I love it. I do
Absolutely.
mix it with pop and a rap as well too. But
Yeah.
yes,
But
R&B.
I think if I had to name this episode, I'm a big PJ Morton fan. I don't know if you know PJ
I
Morton.
don't.
He is amazing, but he has a song called "How Deep Is Your Love." Um, and I know the lyrics don't quite match this episode, but the theme of kind of what we're talking about is just our love for self, right?
Hmm.
And so I would go with the PJ Morton and Yeba version of "How Deep Is Your Love." I want
I
us to
love
remember
that.
to love ourselves as much as we love the
Yes.
people around us.
Yeah.
And I think when we do that, we will find that there's some balance in our life and we might find more fulfillment in it as well.
Hmm. Is your love deep enough to ask for help? Is your love deep enough to set boundaries? Thank you. Thank you so much, Danielle, for such a lovely conversation. I
This was
love the
so
work
much
you're
fun.
doing.
Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I so love checking you out and watching you shine in your work as well. So thank you, and thank you for inviting me. This has been so much fun.
So much fun. And please let people know how they can best find you and connect with you.
Absolutely. So you can find me at worthyofdignity.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Worthy of Dignity as well, and here on LinkedIn at Danielle Hoth.
Great. And I'll make sure I'll get those links from you and put in the show notes. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the Shar Hotline. I hope you're walking away feeling seen, supported, and a little more at home in yourself. Healing isn't always easy, but remember, you don't have to do this alone. I got you. Every time you choose self-love, self-trust, and self-compassion, you're rewriting old stories and stepping into your damn power. And I'm all about helping you get there. Got a burning question, a messy situation, or a soul shift you're navigating? Please feel free to slide into my inbox with a Dear Shar letter at sharwongrichardsoncom/Dear Shar, or check the show notes for the link. And let's unpack it together in a future episode. Until next time, love yourself first, always. Your hype woman, Shar.